It's 15:45 on the 21st of July 2025. In the South China Sea, guided missile cruiser USS Princeton, CG-59, watches its scopes light up. Multiple fast tracks, low and hard. The Combat Information Center snaps to red. Collision doors slam. Sailors sprint to stations, don headsets, strap in, dog every hatch. Outside, the horizon flashes Chinese YJ-18 anti-ship missiles already inbound. AJ-15 tears past a cloud bank. The carrier Shandong lurks beyond. A Type 50 2D radar rakes the sea. No time for a briefing. This is it. The first salvo will be on them in under a minute. General quarters, engage. VLS hatches crack open. The ship slews to comb the tracks and cut its profile. ECM howls. Chaff and decoys stand ready. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye warns. Vampires inbound, multiple bearings. A growler spools up jammers for the strike group. Spray lashes the bow. Visibility drops. Every second matters. If the defense breaks, the cruiser dies and the whole Nimitz group fights blind. The South China Sea is more than empty water. It's the artery of global trade tankers, cargo ships, and fishing fleets pass through every day, keeping fuel in pumps, food on shelves, and supply chains moving. For the United States, protecting this flow is more than a mission. It's a signal to allies that the sea stays open, no matter who challenges it. On the 21st of July 2025, USS Nimitz and her escorts patrolled these contested waters. USS Princeton led part of the screen, scanning for threats and shielding the carrier from long-range strikes. Across the horizon, China's Shandong carrier group prepared for confrontation. The stakes were not just one ship versus another. It was a test of willpower, credibility, and survival. If Princeton failed, hundreds of sailors would pay with their lives. The carrier behind her, the heart of American power projection, would be exposed. Insurance rates would skyrocket overnight, global shipping would seize up, and Asian allies would question whether Washington could still hold the line. Every incoming missile was not only a physical threat, but also a political statement. Both navies knew this fight was about far more than steel and explosives. It was about proving who controls the sea lanes of Asia. That's why the Chinese commander fired first, launching waves of YJ-18 supported by submarines and carrier-based J-15. And that's why the Americans braced for impact, determined not to yield a mile of open water. This standoff sets the tone for everything that follows. Before we dive into the opening exchange, tell me whose side are you on in this clash? Smash 1 if you think the US strike group holds firm, or press 9 if you believe China's opening punch will land. And if you're ready to follow this battle moment by moment, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. 15:47. 2 minutes after first detection, USS Princeton scopes hardlock. More than a dozen YJ-18, sea skimming and fast. The Combat Direction Center spikes with noise tracks, tones, clipped voices. No delay. Fire! VLS hatches slam open. Standard missiles leap, climb, then pitch down into the glare. The outer ring lights the horizon, blossoms rolling across the sea. Several tracks drop, not enough. The rest keep coming, hugging the waves to hide in clutter. Princeton shifts to the second shield. SM-2 and ESSM streak low to swat leakers. The ship yaws to widen arcs and keep sensors on target. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye stitches the picture together, calling bearings and altitudes. EA 18 grams. Growlers jam hostile fire control radars. Locks break, then form again as the enemy pushes through. 1550. Mid-air kills confirmed. Cheers rise cut short by a new alarm. A Type 039 submarine launches torpedoes toward the carrier's lane. The escorting Virginia-class angles deep, flooding tubes, sprinting to intercept. On the surface, an MH-60R lays sonobuoys, dips its sonar and paints a firm contact. The helo drops a lightweight torpedo and peels away, rotor wash whipping spray across the deck. On Princeton's decks, sailors brace as the near fight begins. Chaff bursts, metallic clouds spoof seekers. Nulka decoys kick off the rails. CRAM uncages. Phalanx barrels spin, the last barrier if anything leaks through. 1552. Nimitz turns into the wind and launches more F divided by A-18E to thicken the cap. Guided by the Hawkeye, the first pair splashes a J-15 with AMRAAMs and forces the rest to jink. It buys seconds, nothing more. The missiles already inbound don't care who cheers, they keep their run. 1554. New tracks bloom another ripple of YJ-18 from a Type 52D farther west. Princeton tweaks course to comb the inbound geometry and narrow her radar profile. Another ESSM salvo flashes out. Smoke hangs low. The bridge voice stays steady. Maintain continuity. Keep the lanes clean. 1556. The herd is thinner, but still lethal. Above, on, and below the water, the strike group fights as one fighters, jammers, helos, subs, and a cruiser punching above her weight. The next minutes decide everything. The second wave is already closing faster, lower, and meaner than the first. 1558. The second wave is already on the scopes. These missiles fly even lower, cutting through radar clutter. Several J-15 push in with them, trying to saturate defenses. The CIC lights red. The captain's voice stays flat. Hold the line. Princeton rolls to port, narrowing her profile. The maneuver shaves precious seconds from missile seekers. SM-2 slash outward, detonating in the haze, but more leakers push through. The ship's crew knows, once inside 10 miles, the fight belongs to the guns. 16. Phalanx CIWS roars, spitting thousands of rounds. C-rams launch in pairs, their contrails slicing low. Explosions ripple close, spray pounds the decks, shards rain down. A single YJ-18 gets through, smashing into decoy chaff just yards off the bow before veering wide. The near miss rattles every bulkhead. Overhead, Super Hornets lock on to inbound J-15. Missiles streak, jets twist and flare, dogfights erupt over the carrier group. Each kill buys the fleet a few more seconds, but the enemy keeps feeding planes into the grinder. For every fighter downed, another pushes in low, trying to score a hit. 16-3. Below the surface, the duel sharpens. The Virginia-class sub closes with the Type 039. Sonar pings climb in intensity. A torpedo finds its mark, an underwater thud, then silence. One threat gone. Yet the surface battle only grows heavier. Princeton's bridge smells of ozone and sweat. Orders echo. Shift batteries. Reset Cs. Reload C-ram. Sailors slam fresh canisters into launchers, hands blistered from heat. The ship jerks with each hard turn, slamming through heavy spray. 16-5. Another ripple slams in multiple YJ-18, closing within seconds. ESSMs leap, intercept 2. One more breaks through, skimming the deck. Phalanx locks, spits, and rips it apart a heartbeat before impact. The blast of fragments peppers the hull, but the cruiser lives. In those minutes, the U.S. line bends but does not break. China's attack is fierce, coordinated, relentless, yet the defenses hold barely. Both sides are gambling everything on this exchange. And here's where I want your take. If you think America's shield will stand, smash 1 inch the comments. If you think China's wave still breaks through, press 9. Don't forget to subscribe, because the clash is far from over. 16-7. Just as the CIC exhales, fresh alarms hit. These aren't the same high-speed cruise missiles. They're smaller, faster, skimming inches above the water salvos fired from concealed coastal batteries on nearby islands. The radar picture fractures. The new returns hide in wave clutter and pop up only seconds before impact. New contacts bearing 175. Multiple fast movers. The air controller cuts through the noise. China has changed the play, adding shore-based launchers to hammer the formation from a new angle while the carrier group keeps pressure on. The captain calls the third shield. C-ram spits fire. Phalanx turrets rake low, throwing tungsten into the haze. The ship heels hard, knifing across the inbound geometry. Electronic countermeasures howl across the band. Still, these sea skimmers are hard to catch. 16-9. The first of them cross 5 miles. CIWS barks and rips one apart in a white plume. Another slips through until a last-second ESSM smashes it broadside. Fragments hiss over the deck. Helmets ring, ears buzz, but the cruiser keeps fighting. Overhead, Super Hornets tangle with J-15. One Hornet takes a hit and limps away trailing fire, yet the pilot holds long enough to loose a sidewinder and drop his pursuer before ejecting. The air is chaos. The sea below worse. By 1612, Princeton is twisting on the edge. Every second brings new tracks, new intercepts, new detonations. The twist is clear. This is no longer ship against ship. The coastline itself has joined the battle, saturating defenses with cheap, fast shots. If even one gets through clean, the cruiser or the carrier behind her could vanish in flame. 1615. The last wave closes. Bigger salvo, tighter spread. Every system on Princeton is hot. The CIC feels like a furnace, lit by alarms and screen glow. Voices clash. Missile inbound, 5 miles, multiple bearings. C-rams snap, exhaust, scorching the deck. Explosions ripple close. The ship bucks as shockwaves hammer the hull. A YJ-18 dives low. Chaff bursts too late. Phalanx turrets scream, hurling tungsten. The missile disintegrates, fragments peppering the bow. 1617. The air battle rages overhead. F divided by A, 18E dogfight. J-15, vapor trails twisting. Sidewinders crack the sky. One Hornet splashes, but not before downing its target. The carrier group's last shield holds barely. On deck, sailors reload in seconds, sweat pouring. The captain orders a hard turn. The cruiser heels. Waves crash over the forecastle. Another pair of missiles streak in. ESSMs leap and collide mid-air. CIC erupts in cheers cut short. Contact, 2 miles. Phalanx guns hammer. Tracers arc bright, slamming into a final inbound. One hit, then another. The missile staggers, still flying. The crew holds their breath. At the last instant, CIWS tears it apart. The ship shudders under the blast, but survives. 1618. Damage control teams swarm. Holes patched, a fire smothered. Medics treat 2 wounded, both conscious. Engineering reroutes power, radar steady. Conditions Zebra holds. 1619. The Hawkeye calls fewer hostiles. To the west, smoke marks where a Type 52D guided salvos. 2 Hornets push low, loose harpoons, then break away. Minutes later, the destroyer's radar drops from the board. Far off, the Chinese carrier turns downwind. Launches slow, J-15 icons thin. The Virginia-class reports quiet seas, oil slick widening where the enemy sub was last heard. 1620. Silence except for hissing steam and pounding hearts. Wreckage drifts. Above, Hornets orbit, confirming kills. Below, sonar hears only water. For now, the board is clear. The cruiser is battered but on station. The carrier behind her still alive. The climax has passed. Both fleets threw everything, only one line held. Now your call, did America's shield prove unbreakable? Or will China return harder? Hit 1 if you think the US defense stands tall. Or press 9 if the next assault overwhelms. Subscribe so you're here when the fight continues. 1630. The smoke begins to clear. Debris drifts across the South China Sea. Twisted fragments of missiles, jets, and steel. USS Princeton still floats, battered but alive, her crew exhausted yet unbroken. Medics move stretcher after stretcher, but most of the wounded will survive. On the horizon, Nimitz sails untouched, her deck crew already spotting fresh Hornets for launch. For the US, this fight is proof. Layered defenses work, even against mass salvos. Missiles, subs, and fighters all struck at once and still the line held. But the cost was high. Hundreds of interceptors fired, a cruiser heavily damaged, and precious minutes where survival balanced on a knife's edge. The enemy has learned, and next time their waves may be larger, faster, and smarter. For China, the battle is a shock. Losing a submarine, a modern destroyer, and dozens of aircraft in a single afternoon weakens not only the fleet, but the story of rising dominance. The carrier Shandong, scarred and smoking, retreats under escort. Its presence was meant to intimidate. Instead, it exposed how vulnerable even a carrier can be when the other side refuses to back down. Globally, markets shuddered, oil prices jumped, shipping lanes go silent as insurance firms freeze coverage. Allies in Asia call Washington, asking if this fight marks the start of something larger. For now, U.S. forces can claim victory, the sea lanes remain open, and the strike group stays afloat. But everyone knows this is only the first round. Tonight, the message is clear. America's shield still holds, but the pressure is rising. Every missile intercepted costs millions. Every wave pushes the defenders closer to exhaustion. And the world is watching to see if China doubles down or recalculates. So here's my question for you. Who truly won this round? If you believe the US proved its dominance, hit 1 the comments. If you think China showed it can bleed America with enough waves, press 9. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next strike could change the balance for good.